There are great Mortal Kombat games, and then there are important Mortal Kombat games. Sometimes those are the same thing, sometimes they aren't, but if there's one game that deserves both titles, I think it's MK9, Mortal Kombat 9, or Mortal Kombat 2011, what do you want to call it? Because when MK9 released in 2011, Mortal Kombat wasn't at the top of the fighting game world anymore. The series had been through highs, and it had been through incredible lows. It had experimented with the 3D era and MKDC universe. It had changed, but something was missing. The franchise needed a fresh start, and somehow NRS pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in gaming history. So today I want to look back on why MK9 still matters. Not just because it was a great game, but because it changed the future of Mortal Kombat forever. But if you guys don't know me by now, I'm Mr. Frosty Flames, but you can call me Mike. We do anything gaming news, reviews, playthroughs, etc., and we do it in a chill way with no over editing BS. So if you enjoy that style of content, be sure to hit that sub button and join the Mr. Frosty Flames Legion. Anyways, let's get back to the video. MK9 saved the franchise. I honestly don't think people appreciate just how important MK9 was. Coming off of Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, the series was sort of in a strange place. It wasn't dead, but it wasn't dominating the fighting game FGC genre either. Street Fighter 4 had revived fighting games, competition was getting stronger, people loved it. Mortal Kombat needed something special, and that's exactly what MK9 delivered. It reminded people why people loved Mortal Kombat in the first place. You had violence, the fast gameplay, classic characters, iconic stages, and very, very good fatalities for this game. It felt like Mortal Kombat had finally found itself again. Without Mortal Kombat 9, there's a real chance the franchise wouldn't be where it is today, and it was the perfect reboot too. One of MK9's greatest achievements was its story. Instead of trying to continue years of just complicated lore and basically everything that happened after Mortal Kombat Armageddon, it sort of just took the easy way out, in a good way. It hit the reset button. Raiden's message to his past self, the retelling of the original trilogy, just some, a soft reboot. It's connected to the old timeline, but it's still technically a reboot. You have familiar moments coming back with completely different outcomes. It respected longtime fans while also making the story approachable for newcomers. I mean, this was the new era, the new generation of people, and they were getting into Mortal Kombat starting with Mortal Kombat 9, and you didn't need to play the other games to understand the story. You could start here and not be confused. And for other franchises, that's incredibly difficult to do. And to be honest, I think MK9 has one of the strongest story modes in the franchise. I feel like for, story modes in gaming with the cinematic chapter-based story, Mortal Kombat kind of set the template for that. I know Mortal Kombat is a fighting game. It's supposed to be a fighting game at its core, just 1v1 or 2v2 fights in MK9. However, I feel like the story mode was a big factor that really pushed the series further. It actually gave Mortal Kombat a lot of lore, a lot of cinematic, awesome moments. Seeing your characters fight, interact with each other. It was cool. It was cooler than just, watching, slideshows from, bios and slideshows from character endings. It was cooler than that, having your own cinematic story. I loved it, and I'm glad they keep on doing this. They just gotta make the story a little better. MK1's story sucks. MK9 was, if you look at it from like a story mode, but for Mortal Kombat standards, I think it was pretty good in my opinion. And for me, I feel like this game understood nostalgia too. Nostalgia could be dangerous, too much of it and your game just feels lazy, too little and just longtime fans lose interest. But somehow, MK9 found the perfect balance. They brought back classic costumes, you brought back the arcade ladder, classic stages, classic music, classic fatalities, but it didn't feel like it was only living in the past. It sort of just modernized the whole arcade era and brought it back in a more clean way. That's why MK9 felt familiar without feeling outdated. And even the gameplay, it brought players back. Ask almost any Mortal Kombat fan and they'll probably tell you that MK9 is simply just fun. The gameplay is fast, it's aggressive, combo heavy, it's easy to learn but difficult to master. It also gave every character a chance to shine, whether you played Scorpion, Cabal, Smoke, Johnny Cage, Ermac, Cyrex, Kitana, arena, almost everyone had something exciting to offer. And even today, many competitive players still speak highly of MK9's gameplay. They say that it's good despite the jankiness, of it feeling old and some of the broken Cabal players, whatever, the esports scene was kind of broken, but that's whatever. That's not something every fighting game could say. A lot of fighting games have just gameplay. I mean, MKX probably has the best gameplay because it built on the foundation of MK9, but it sucks that just MK1 and MK11 just threw it away with MK11's slow methodical combat and MK1's cameo system. It just sucks with the modern era. But I know this modern NRS era does have its fans, and not every game is bad. Even MK11 and MK1 do have their good moments and their good stuff about it. But one thing that often gets overlooked is that MK9 sort of just started the modern era. The cinematic story modes, the challenge towers, the character intros, X-rays or fatal blows, the presentation, even the way NRS tells stories today can be traced back to Mortal Kombat 9. Every modern Mortal Kombat game, whether it's MKX, MK1, or even MK11, exists because MK9 established that blueprint. Its influence is everywhere, and its biggest strength was its confidence. One thing I admire about MK9 is how confident it felt. It wasn't trying to apologize for Mortal Kombat. It embraced everything people loved about the franchise. Like I said, the violence, the over-the-top action, the ridiculous fatalities, the colorful roster, the darker atmosphere. It never felt embarrassed to be Mortal Kombat, and I think that's one reason it resonated so strongly with fans. But let's get to the point of my video, and that's its legacy. What is its legacy today? More than a decade later, Mortal Kombat 9 still gets brought up constantly. They compare just about everything to it. People compare the new story modes to it. They compare the gameplay to it. They compare rosters to it. Whenever fans argue about the best Mortal Kombat games, MK9 almost always was a part of the conversation. And that's truly a sign of a true great game. It doesn't just disappear, it becomes the benchmark. Not because it's perfect, every game has flaws, but because it changed expectations. It reminded everyone what Mortal Kombat could be. And that has its up and downs because MK9 wasn't really a perfect game anyways. I mean, it was really good, and a lot of people compare it and say, it's on top of the food chain. It's something like basically akin to Mortal Kombat Deception, but of the NRS era. So if they could just make more games like MK9, they could be great, but instead they're putting out sort of garbage. One thing that I really missed from MK9 was tag combat. I really don't know why they would have cameos in MK1 when you had the blueprint. You had something that fans loved. You had the tag combat. Imagine if instead of just fighting your friends constantly one-on-one fights and that's it, if you could just queue up with your friends. It doesn't have to be ranked because I could imagine, 4 players in one lobby. You could have King of the Hill connections. Everything's gonna be lagging if everyone doesn't have an Ethernet cable. However, you could have a casual mode where you and your friends just queue up against another duo or have some sort of matchmaking. Hopefully you get a good teammate, because if you get a bad teammate, you're gonna be raging your ass off trying to do like a 2v1. But if you manage to pull it off, imagine the hype. It would be crazy. Imagine tournaments where you could just team up like Sonic Fox and Ninja Killer against, a Foxy Grandpa and somebody else, Hayate, I don't know, right? It would be cool just seeing these type of matches. They would be hype, even if it's just for fun. I don't know why they just opted in for a cameo system other than the 2-player combat, the tag combat, because the tag combat just one-ups the cameo in every other way. The cameo system sort of just feels like it's something that should be in like an Injustice game or something, like sidekicks. However, that's just my opinion. I think that tag is just way better. But looking back, I don't think MK9's legacy is simply that it was just a great fighting game. Its legacy is very much bigger than that. It restored confidence in the franchise. It brought old fans back. It introduced a new generation to Mortal Kombat. It sort of brought it back to the 2D kind of way of fighting, and it laid the foundation for everything NRS Studios would build afterwards. And that's why Mortal Kombat 9 still matters. Not because it was the newest, not because it was the flashiest, but because when Mortal Kombat needed a fresh start, MK9 delivered one, and without it, the franchise we know today might look very different, or it just might not be there at all. Now I want to hear from you guys. Do you think MK9 is the greatest game in the franchise, or do you think another Mortal Kombat deserves that title? In my opinion, there is one game that just one-ups Mortal Kombat, and in fact it's a 3D era game, Mortal Kombat Deception. Let me know in the comments down below. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to join the Mr. Mr. Frosty Flames Legion. Thank you guys for watching. Mr. Frosty Flames out. Yeah.